Monday morning edition of the National Briefing. With me, Kelly Nash. I hope you had a relaxing, awesome weekend, which, if you did, it probably means you did not watch the Sunday shows. I watch them for you and then give you the lowlights. One of the worst shows on television is on CNN. It's hosted by a young Casey Hunt is her name. I think, I kind of imagine her in her mind thinking of herself as like Mary Tyler Moore with the little beret, and she's going to make it after all, and she's fighting hard. She's fighting the good fight. And whenever she has somebody on the big State of the Union show, if it's on the left, she's going to praise them and make sure that they come out of there smelling like roses. And it's her job, if they're on the right, to absolutely destroy them. Casey Hunt went to work before he even stepped on the set trying to attack Lee Zeldin, the EPA administrator for Donald Trump, and this is how she started the show.
It's called the endangerment finding. It's a landmark scientific determination that planet-warming pollution from fossil fuels endangers human health. And since 2009, it's formed the bedrock for the EPA's ability to regulate greenhouse gas emissions. But that's set to all change after the Trump administration announced plans to reverse that ruling, effectively gutting the federal government's ability to combat climate change.
So what the implication is it's settled science. Carbon emissions leads to global warming, or in her instance, climate change. And since 2009, we've been battling that under this rule. And now Donald Trump, because all he cares about is profits, is going to have Lee Zeldin gut the federal government's ability to regulate carbon emissions. It's going to be chaos, and we're probably all going to be dead before the end of the decade. Lee, how do you defend it?
Well, it's great to be on with you. First, it's worth pointing out that all 8 or so images that you just posted on the screen have nothing to do with this week's announcement. This week's proposal to rescind the 2009 endangerment finding was with regards to mobile sources vehicles. CNN's been using a lot of photos where they show smokestacks of stationary sources like power plants. That's not what we proposed.
So the vast majority of the carbon emissions do not come from cars. They come from buildings, and CNN obviously knows that, and that's why they wanted to show the smokestacks and those types of things. And again, this has nothing to do with any of that. It's just a fear tactic. Okay, but Casey Hunt's not going to be deterred. You know what? You got me there. But let's talk about how you're going to defend you're going to make electric vehicles illegal.
So one way that you have defended the change you want to make is to say that this is going to help consumers pay less for their cars. My question to you, though, is what do you say to people who live in a state like Florida?
Storms.
Farmers insurance was pulled out of Florida entirely. State Farm basically threatened to. It's getting harder and harder for people to get insurance at all, let alone pay for it. People that have insurance, it's so much more expensive.
As it relates to carbon dioxide, I think it's important for people to note that there has been a greening of the planet that's been taking place. It's important to note that emissions have been down. And part of your question was also with regards to the amount of money that's being saved. We at the Trump administration promote consumer choice. We don't believe that states and the federal government should be advancing any form of an electric vehicle mandate. This proposal, on top of a proposal to rescind the 2009 endangerment finding, is a proposal to rescind the greenhouse gas emissions on vehicles and the off-cycle credits, like the incentives for the hated start-stop feature.
I absolutely hate the stop-start feature, and I forget to – do you ever do that? You forget to neutralize it, and then it's like 100 degrees out, and you stop at a red light or something, and the AC goes off, and you're scrambling to find that button. Anyway, it's good to know that it was our tax dollars that paid the car companies to install a feature that we all hate. So that was a great use of money. I think Lee also points out an interesting fact that, yes, the United States, he said the world. He probably misspoke there. He probably meant to say the United States has been, we'll say, getting greener. Is that the term when you use less carbons? The carbon emissions has been declining ever since Joe Biden not Joe Biden, since the first Trump administration, no, not the first Trump administration, since Obama went in, no. U.S. carbon emissions have been declining since the first George W. Bush administration. Apparently, you didn't need a government mandate for carbon emissions to start going backwards. You just needed competition, because competition makes things run more efficiently. And when it's running more efficiently, you're going to get less carbon emissions. Now, actually, when you put these incentives onto like electric vehicles or whatever, you're actually slowing the improvement of whatever it is that you're trying to regulate, because you're taking away the competition. So, in essence, your big Green New Deal actually put out more carbon emissions. The carbon emissions have slowed as far as the decrease in carbon emissions peaked between 2008 and 2013. That was when it got, as the Obama stuff started kicking in, we started slowing how much carbon emissions we were curbing. We've actually hurt the planet with your stupid Green New Deal. If you believe that carbon emissions are what causes all this stuff. And by the way, her implication that Florida is going to be hurt by these storms, I will note that the storms never start in Florida. They always start somewhere in Africa, and they come off the Horn of Africa, and then they pick up speed as they come across the ocean. It must be the damn fish and their carbon emissions that they're putting out that are fueling these storms. So we should regulate them. And also, if you were looking at states with the most carbon emissions, you ought to take a look at Illinois. Why are they not wiped off the map yet? They're the highest state out there, for God's sake. Anyway, my friend Winston sent me a clip, and I just thought that this was so apropos. He wasn't watching that show, but this is a 60-second clip from a sitcom that's like 20 years ago in British television called Yes, Prime Minister, where the Prime Minister is arguing with one of his advisors because the advisor is saying the whole carbon emissions thing is poppycock.
You're suggesting what exactly?
Well, the computer models leave out nearly all other possible causes except CO2. And then they say, oh, look, CO2 has caused all this global warming.
There aren't any other causes, are there?
Have you seen that film of melting icebergs in the Antarctic?
Yes, they're beautiful, aren't they?
That's caused by CO2.
No, dear lady, that's caused by warm water masses from the Pacific.
Why are the polar bears becoming extinct?
Are they?
The computer models say they are.
But the people who actually go and count them have found more than there were 30 years ago.
Oh, for heaven's sake, Humphrey, if it's all such nonsense, why does everyone believe it?
No, it is. It's very hard to understand. There are some scientists who do believe it. Lots of others want the billions of pounds you can get for research that seems to show that global warming is caused by greenhouse gases. Most of the scientists who disagree can't get published. Journalists love shock horror stories. Governments want to look virtuous to the voters. Leftists want to bash big oil. And it makes all the tree huggers and whale savers and everybody at the BBC and all of the media feel holier than thou and warm and fuzzy inside.
And there you have it. In 60 seconds, the guy just explained how we went from nobody believes in carbon emissions causing global climate change, because, again, we'll reiterate it. Back when I was a kid, it was we were all going to freeze to death. We had a global ice age coming. Then it switched. It's going to be global warming. Now we're at, well, if it's hot or it's cold, it's brought on by carbon emissions. And all of it is poppycock. But even if you believe it, the worst thing you can do is try to incentivize companies to lower their carbon emissions. You actually make the process worse. As always, Democrats always make everything worse that they ever touch.